Hello, and today we will continue with Hearthfire. I was falling until I wasn't. Hard voices hit me, knocking the air out of my lungs. Another hit my leg, sending me into a spin. I couldn't feel the prickle of pine needles stabbing through my clothes as I crashed through branch after branch, wood snapping as they failed to bear my falling weight. I lost count of how many had hit me, the tumble scrambling what little sense I had before I finally crashed to the bottom. A cloud of snow puffed into the air, the dust settling over me, half burying me in a frozen grave of my own making. Just about everything was numb. Trying to get my arms or legs to move was a futile effort. I could barely get my eyes open. Even then, the only thing I could see was a field of white around me, whipped by the hungry, howling winds. God damn it! I barely wheezed out, feeling the creep of a consciousness pulling me under a familiar sensation. So close to getting out of this frigid hellscape, now I'm going to die here instead. Not that it was much of a surprise. I just wish I could apologize to Tarek for wasting his time. Body battered, mind fading. I couldn't stave off the frozen numb oblivion that beckoned. Hey, come on, man. Wake up. You said we're gonna go jogging with me. Huh? Ah. The covers were yanked back as I whipped out of my toasty cocoon, uncomfortably cool air washing over me. A grinning lion at the other end of my bed held onto my seats, keeping them away from my clumsily grabbing hands. Oh no, you don't. If I let you go back to sleep, you're gonna be out of it for another hour. Sleep. I whined, grabbing at my pillows, pulling them over my face to try to block the harsh light from above. Dude, you're the one that said you wanted to get into shape. Yeah, but do we have to do it so early in the morning? My voice was an unsightly gurgle of a sound, only adding to the pathetic display of me squirming in bed. When you room with me, it's a way of life. I sighed, slowly sitting up, letting the pillows roll off of my face and rain onto the bed around me. Fine, could you at least dim the lights, devil? Nope, can't wish you nodding off. He's way too excited this early in the morning. How does he do it? Do you already have coffee without me? Again, his voice was a croak as I rubbed a fist into my eyes, trying to clear out the worst of the hazy blur. You wouldn't need to live on the stuff if you were more active, man. I'm not sure I'm prepared to deal with a ball of energy this early in the morning, at least not before a caffeinated jumpstart. A hair slipped past my lips as my feet touched the hardwood floor, a comfortable chill saturating it. Yeah, why is it so cold? I shivered, hugging myself from the latent chill, my fur standing on end. Don't know, dude. Maybe there's something messed up with the building's AC, how they crank it up during the summer. If you really want, we can get you some coffee at that corner cafe you like. He waved a clawed finger, waggling it left and right. After our jog. They're not even open this early in the morning. That's what the jog's for. By the time we're done, you'll get your coffee, dude. Doubt you'll want it, though. I'm sure you'll be awake with all that blood pumping. He gave my chest a playful punch with one of those meaty hands, knuckles bonking into me. It was a gentle gesture, but one that almost knocked me back into the bed in my sleep-addled state. If I get dressed, will you leave me alone? I grumbled, pulling on my face, trying to get my eyes adjusted to the light as I stumbled over to my nearby dresser. Daryl was already next to me, leaning an elbow against the wall, that award-winning smile pulling across his muzzle. Well, if you're pissed about having to run with me, why don't you think about the sour after? My face instantly heated up, hands freezing inside of the drawer I was rifling through. I don't know about you, but I tend to work up a sweat after a good run. There was a sultry purr in his voice that sent a shiver up my spine. Goddamn, he had no right to do this so early in the morning. The bump of his hips against mine, complete with the brush of his tough tail, was more than on purpose. I gave him a playful growl, moving in to strike his ass. He deftly dodged, smacking my wrist with his tough tail instead. Nice try, but you gotta be quicker than that. As much fun as it was seeing him in that revealing tank top, he snatched his varsity jacket off of the nearby door hook before starting it on. Be up in the hall once you're ready. Yeah, just get out of here and stop teasing me. He flashed me a wink before sliding out, the crimson strands of his tough tail vanishing through the crack. Jerk. I couldn't muster any malice into the word, a small smirk pulling at the corners of my mouth despite myself. Digging through my drawers, I pulled out a pair of nylon shorts. Just before I committed to putting them on, another tickle of chilly air prompted me to change my mind. I'll probably regret when it warms out later, but sweats for now. I stopped just short of putting them on, my eyes catching on a piece of blue fabric at the back of the drawer. A smile curled over my lips as I pulled it out, a jockstrap. I remember buying this off of the internet a few months ago. I figured I could tease Daryl with it when it arrived, but my self-consciousness wouldn't allow me to slip it on. Maybe tit for tat when we get back. They slipped on easily enough, the straps tugging before stepping into place with my rear. I might not have been entirely proud of my body, but I did enjoy the fact that I had a shapely ass. Just for the giggle's sake, I gave the strap a pull before letting it slip loose, the band stepping back into place against my glutes. Alright, enough goofing off. I couldn't help but say with a giggle, rummaging around and pulling out a pair of sweats, basic t-shirt, and my favorite jacket. Still as good of a mood I was in, I couldn't shake that feeling of unease. Maybe it was the cold, or maybe it was the cusp of a nightmare that I couldn't remember. Either way, I couldn't quite put my finger on it as I made my way to the door. Kicking on my old sneakers, I slipped out, clapping the door shut behind me. At the end of the hallway was a familiar ginger lion, his sharp teeth showing as he grinned and waved. I couldn't even get a word in. They were already turning and running down the stairs. I could hear the thudding footsteps echoing in the stairwell all the way down. A quiet sigh blew past my lips as I shook my head. He's just a kid, not wanting to be left behind. I hurried along down the stairs and out to the front doors. About time he caught up. He laughed, a rumbling sound that shook from his broad chest. I couldn't help but huff under my breath. My eyes caught on the set of taut pectorals pushing out the front of his shirt. Not every one of us is a bolt of lightning in the morning. You saying I bring the thunder because if you are high. I was already pushing on his shoulder as we walked, the southern self nearly topping the top-heavy lion over into the nearby bushes. Dirty move, Otter. He gave me his own elbow. Too bad I was prepared for retaliation, catching his running, lifting both hands before pushing it back. I learned from the best, you little shit. He pushed me up against the nearby tree, damp blades of grass flattening under our sneakers, and we both laughed. Dale's arm wrapped around my head, squeezing playfully, his knuckles going right between my short ears. Hey, stop! I laughed, unable to help myself as he noogied back and forth, messing up my short hair. Are we supposed to be on the run? Yeah, but he decided to run your mouth first. I can't hear the grin in his voice as he pressed. I could hear the grin in his voice as he pressed his knuckles in harder, causing me to squirm around and squeak. I remember when he used to do this to me years ago and under a lot less friendly pretenses. Now though, I can tell he's just being playful. He wouldn't hurt me on purpose. Finally managing to fight my way out of his arm, I smoothed down my hair, letting out a huff before shooting him a glare. Right now. Yeah, thanks. Rolled my eyes before hooking my thumbs into the pockets of my sweat. Another squeak passed over my lips as he grabbed me by the hips, pulling me up against his side. My eyes widened as he pressed a kiss on my cheek, something I never would have expected in a public space. My eyes started left and right in a panic as I tried to spot if anyone would see us like this. What's gotten into you this morning? He pulled back, flashing me that same sharp face glinting to the sharply flickering lamplight. Did I forget to tell you? Coach is considering me for the quarterback position. Football? Right. I nearly forgot that they were giving up for a new season. Jared pulled a bicep doing some stupid stunts at a frat party last week and he can't throw shit. Oh, I remember him. He was that loud charismatic shark who wore his clothes a size or two too small. I didn't admit it to Darryl, but I couldn't help but sneak a few glances at the guy whenever he was around. The outline of those abs were a little too on display, to be honest. I'm so fucking pumped. He spun on the spot, thrusting a fist into the air, his jacket whipping in the wind. Energy was practically radiating off of him, his tail flicking back and forth from all the excitement. While it was nice seeing him like this, part of me was a little worried what this might mean for the both of us. With him getting a starting position, more eyes would be focused on him, which means less time with us being together. It's not the situation I would have liked, but I tried to be happy for him. After all, this was what he wanted, right? He was the one who got a scholarship, not me. Eartha Chris. His brow was arched, overt enthusiasm had dimmed as he slowly regarded me. So I just lost in thoughts. I allowed the sound slipping out of me as I rubbed the back of my head awkwardly. Guess it's still too early in the morning. Now come on, dude, let's get moving. He waited for me to follow, already dancing back onto the road and down the street, tail trailing behind him as those thighs pumped. Keeping up with his pace with my shorter legs was an ordeal, with me having to take almost 2 steps for every one of his. It was less dark now, the light starting to cut out around campus as the sky above us lightened. Yet despite all of this, a chill clung to the air, faint banks of frosty fog licking at the edges of the walkways in a nearby football stadium. What the heck? Why is it still this cold? It's the middle of summer, isn't it? A dull ache across my upper forehead made me slow down my pace as I reached up to feel through my hairline. Alright, break time. What? I peered through my fingers, noticing that Dale was already tearing off of the sidewalk and through the grass to a nearby picnic table. It had an overhang that shielded us from the morning sun, not that we exactly needed it, considering just how chilly things were. Dale was sitting on the table, using the seats like a footrest as he patted the spot next to him invitingly. My legs were feeling pretty exhausted from the run, more than I would have expected as my knees threatened to wobble. Climbing up into the seat next to him, I bumped thighs with Lion. To my surprise, Daryl leaned into it, sliding them together affectionately, even going so far as to slip a hand along with my inner thigh. It's my bad judgment and possibly ruining the moment I opened my mouth. Are you feeling okay? You're being kinda touchy. Yeah, I got a problem with that. He flashed me a grin, leaning in closer. space between us was a little more than intimate. His breath wafted against my cheek, those jade green eyes fixed on me. I'm excited. I want to share it with you, man. I opened my mouth to respond, but he already beat me to the punch. He pressed his lips to mine, his burly forearm wrapping around me, tighter, practically pulling me into his lap. His tongue was rough, subtle bars tickling at my lips before slipping between them. For a brief moment, I forgot about the unsettling chill in the air. His body heat radiated around me, wrapping me up in a tender embrace. It was always like this. Terrible with his feelings, but always making up for it with a tender touch and passionate sex when we were alone together. His fingers caressed under my chin, a thumb sliding along my jawline as he tilted my head higher up into the kiss and the bliss. My sister time faded away, the both of us together in a moment that stretched on for eternity. Until it didn't. The sound of his twitch snapping caught our attention. Daryl's eyes having gone wide. Our embrace ended. Worse than that, I was shoved away from him, as if merely touching the lion had burned him. The warmth I was feeling quickly turned to stabbing pain, like someone shoved a ice-cold knife into my chest. This is how it always ended. Under the stairwell behind the bleachers in the locker room, the second that someone could witness us like this was the moment that Daryl would pull away. Pretend like there was nothing between us and that nothing had happened. The night twisted, tears started to well in the corners of my eyes. And all for what? So he could keep up his appearance of being straight? Hey, sorry, thought I hurt someone. He let out an awkward laugh, rubbing the back of his head. Something other than crippling disappointment was starting to take root inside me. A burning feeling of indignance bubbled up inside me, my cheeks heating up despite the press of the chill around me. I thought you said things were going to be different. What? You said we were going to start over. Remember, when we first moved onto campus? You promised. My voice broke, determination faltering. You said things would be different, that we could be open together here, that we could be boyfriends, a real couple. They were visited awkwardly on the table, as if he was looking for a place to hide between the groups in the wood. Dude, you know that I can't do that yet. Across my arms, feeling the railing sense of indignance rise once again. However, he beat me to the punch, his mouth opening back up. Coach is homophobic as fuck. He'll get me kicked off the team if he finds out. So what am I supposed to do then? I asked, my voice rising, shaking in my throat. Dude, keep your voice down. He snarled in hushed tones, his brows furrowing as he openly glared at me. Did I keep on pretending to be your roommate until you're done with college? Dude, that's not. You said the same thing when we were in high school. Now it's after we graduate college? What next? Am I going to be your side auto for when you get yourself a wife and have kids too? I could feel myself sinking, an oppressive chill that seemed to be worsening combined with my rattling nerves. Tears threatened to flow, the ache that I've suppressed for the past few years finally spilling over. You knew what you were getting into when you... He cut himself off an impotent growl shaking through his throat as he clenched his hands between his knees. Well, you wanted to do stuff with me, man. So, that's it? That's all it is now? Doing stuff? You know that's not what I meant. Then what do you mean, Daryl? We've had our fights about this in the past, but it's never gotten this heated before. The words spilled out of me, and I knew that this could be a point of no return for us. But the pain wouldn't let me stop. It was like someone had yanked out the knife, and all of my pent-up anger and hurt was pouring out of the wound. That you're too afraid to commit to a relationship with me? That you're saying to me or something? Or do you just hate being gay? That seemed to strike a nerve, the lion rearing up, his eyes narrowing at me, teeth starting to bare. Dude, where do you even fucking get off? He put an arm out, gesturing across the campus in the nearby football field. Do you think this is easy for me? I've got to work my ass off to be here. He was seething, looking just as angry as I felt, his chest bobbing up and down. "It's always been easy for you." He shouted back, fist clenched tight against my thighs. "You got so much charisma and natural talent, you don't need to try." I had to fucking claw my way to where I am. I've never had anyone to support me. His teeth flashed as he stuck his nails into the table. The wood splintered, cracking separately, tearing up where his nails dug into it. "I don't have anywhere else to go if I fuck this up. You got lawyers for parents. They pay for everything. You didn't need to fight tooth and nail for a scholarship to go into debt." Now it was my turn to balk as I scooted a few inches away from the seething lion. That's not fair. And neither is taking a dick side at me. "Grow up, Chris." He snarled again, letting out a short exhale through his nostrils before breaking his gaze away from me. "We can't have everything we want in life. That's not how it works. If you can't handle that, then you got lawyers for parents. They pay for everything. You didn't need to fight tooth and nail for a scholarship or go into debt." Now it was my turn to balk as I scooted a few inches away from the seething lion. That's not fair. Neither is taking a dick side at me. "Grow up, Chris." He snarled again, letting out a sharp exhale through his nostrils before breaking his gaze away from me. "We can't have everything we want in life. That's not how it works. You can't handle that, then maybe you should just go." So I did. Until morning air whirled around me like icy daggers, the fire billowing in, obscuring the rest of the world around me as I trudged forward. I couldn't see past the tears that were forming, not that I cared. I could hear him calling me back, asking me where I was going, even pleading for me to come back. Maybe he realized the gravity of what he just said, or maybe he regretted it. I wasn't going to stick around to have my heart broken again. My legs felt weak, and my body ached. The throbbing in my head was back, a blinding white flash of pain knocking me to my knees. Hot tears brimmed along my screwed-shut eyes as my breath grew ragged, every intake of the cold air stinging my lungs. Was the ground always covered in snow? I wasn't quite sure, but it dampened my impact as I finally fell collapsing into an exhausted, aching heap. There was nothing for me to go back home to, and nothing to move forward with. Maybe it would be better to stay like this. If nobody was going to care about me, then why make an effort to continue existing? Perhaps it would be better to just vanish into the snow. I was drifting. For how long? I had no idea. It felt like an eternity swallowed in pitch black. Soundless, endless, a void. Was I ever going to wake up again? I fucked up my life so much over the past year. Would it be that bad? Part of me was scared, terrified. I don't want to die. I'm terrified of dying. But I couldn't deny the urge to just want to peacefully fade out of existence. Maybe I'm just weak. I can't blame everything on being just an auto or some damsel in distress. At some point, I have to realize that all my fuck-ups are my responsibility. I just hope that Daryl and Tarmac will be okay without me. I'm sure Daryl will find some other guy at some point when he gets over me. And for Tarmac, the thought of the bear who had been taking care of me sparkled a feeling. A warm sensation flowed through me, starting from my core before reaching the tingling tips of my toes and fingers. Before I found myself seeming a little less endless, the cliffs of consciousness tantalizingly teetering. But what will I see if I open my eyes? More snow, howling winds? I'll be just as good as dead. That feeling of warmth refused to abate, however. It wasn't coming from me either. It was external. Something was keeping me warm. My eyes cracked open, feeling like they were crushed over or frozen. I wasn't in the snow anymore. The mountainside was gone, and there were no pine trees in sight. Greystone, the insides of a cave? Lighting up the walls was a small camping stove, a blue flame flickering. It was not much more complicated than a propane tank attached to a burner. There was a kettle on top of it, the sound of bubbling barely heard over the soft roosting sound of the fire. However, there was something else that was catching my attention. Despite the hard walls around me, it felt like I was laying against something inordinately soft. A sleeping bag. There was even a small pillow tucked behind my head. Tamak? My voice came out as a croak, one that barely echoed through the cave walls. 2 and 2 was slowly starting to dawn on me. First, I wasn't dead. Second, Tamak must have somehow found me. Guess he also found this cave too. At least I hope it was him. Sitting up proved almost to be a mistake. A wave of nausea hitting me, forcing me back down onto the pillow. Yeah. Everything was sore. It felt like it had been run over by a train. At least everything seemed to be in one piece. I didn't want to think how statistically lucky I was to survive that fall, let alone combined with my car accident. Maybe surviving daily falls was a superpower of mine. Not that I wanted to test it out. I've had enough drops for one lifetime, thanks. Biting my lower lip, I tried to sit up again, this time taking it a lot slower. Yeah, I'm probably black and blue with bruises. Nothing seems broken at least, so that's good. I could hear howling wind outside. A chill breeze blew, making me shiver and pull the sleeping bag up a little harder. Must not be far from the entrance. Just as I was about to muster the courage to slide out of my warm cocoon, a large shadow was cast from the lighter end of the cave. Chris. The heavy pack he was wearing dropped from his back with a heavy clatter, a part rolling out of the open flap. He didn't care. The bear rushing forward, dropping to his knees just inches away. His hands shot out, stopping to destroy me, afraid that I would shatter if he touched me, as if I was made out of fragile porcelain. Those hands quivered, the bear looking desperate to touch me, his eyes glistening in the light of the burner. He was conflicted, as if he wanted nothing more but to pull me into his arms. "Are you alright? How are you feeling?" His words came out in a rush, as if desperate to make sure that I was still somehow alive. "I found you in the snow. You fell so far. You were not moving when I first found you, I thought." His voice hissed, his jawline flexed as if he was trying to hold back tears. "I thought you were dead." I'm not even entirely sure if he was wrong. I think I'm okay. Everything is a little sore, but I think I'm alright. Carmack let out a long exhale, dropping onto his rear. He looked exhausted. How long had he been out there, searching for me? His fingers were cold as they strode along my arms. He lifted them up, gently testing to see if they were broken. It hurt a little, enough to make me grimace as those dense dishes pressed down. Thankfully, nothing felt too out of place. The hug he pulled me into wasn't nearly as chilled. His chest was warm, my cheek pressed up against his, getting a sample of his thudding heartbeat. He didn't seem to take no for an answer. Tomac pulled me gently up against his side, uncaring that the sleeping bag was going along with me. "I'm sorry." "What for?" "I did not protect you. I broke my promise. You were hurt." Before I could get out a proper reply to console the bear, he gently let me down before moving back to the fire. The bubbling kettle was removed from the fire, a content sloshing as Tomac went for his pack. Metal cups were revealed, their inside tearing a couple of packets, dumping the content into the cups before drizzling the water in. He poured the water in, the liquid taking on a brownish haze as the powder dissolved into the steaming liquid. "Here, please drink." There was a hint of desperation in his voice, the bear sounding scared, holding out the steaming metal mug for me. "You need to keep warm. You were in the snow for too long." He was rattled. a subtle shiver to his hand as he reached out to me. Taking the cup from him, I gave the contents a gentle sip. It wasn't bad. It was some sort of bouillon, I think. Chicken was as far as I could guess. Tom hadn't poured water into his cup, the bear too busy watching me, captivated on if I was going to drink or not. Tom? Yes. You should drink too. You were out there looking for me, right? He shook his head. I'm a polar bear. You are an ostrich. It is more important that you stay warm. Please. I saw my best to not sound pathetically pleading, my round ears going back as I looked up at him. He seemed to relax, the bear letting out an exhale through his padded nostrils. It wasn't until he brought the steaming liquid to his lips that I finally felt a sense of relief. The bouillon was nice. The heat radiated from my stomach down to my fingers and toes, bringing them back to life. The noise of the burner was the only sound between us, neither one able to figure out who should speak first. Here. Blinking, I looked down, spotted what he was holding out. My phone? I found it nearby. I am unsure if it still works. I looked it over, flipping it around in my hands. It was ice cold, the chill creeping into the pads of my fingers. It was dirty in the snow. The plastic body water slicked. Sure, it was waterproof, but amazingly the screen turned on, the power button still functioning. Unlike the peak, there was zero signal in the cave. Even worse, the battery was only minutes away from running out. Still, silver linings, it still worked. And let out a long, relieved exhale. Thanks, Tom. I grunted, the bear seeming to perk up. A smile on his own started to creep across his muzzle. You're welcome. I was lucky to find it. He paused, letting out an exhale of a sigh. I was lucky to find you at all. You went over the edge and vanished. I could hear the sounds of the branches breaking. I could feel the heat rising up into my cheeks. All the hot broth wasn't helping. The concern was touching, but it honestly sounded like he was about to cry. The metal clinked as I set my mouth aside. I found myself leaning against his side, my arm looping around him as I squeezed close. I'm fine now, you saved me. I laughed, a tired sound, and passed over my lips, followed by a short sigh. That makes it twice now. I looked up at him, still smiling. I really don't know how I'm going to make it up for it. You do not have to. He visited, shifting his weight so he could properly sit back, the flickering blue flame bathing the bear's front. The time you have spent with me, it has been more than enough. You have made me happy. It wasn't until my mouth was open that I realized I didn't know what to say. Instead, I leaned closer into his bulk. My cheeks burned harder as I felt him lift my arm, wrapping it around me, pulling me properly against his side. He was shaking. Tarmac? There was no response, his jaw clenching. Pushing at his shoulder made the bear finally realize that I was talking to him. He looked flustered, even embarrassed, quickly snapping his gaze away from me. My apologies. Bad memories. Bad memories? You want to talk about it, or? He sitting uncomfortably, the fire flickering in his horizons as he stared at it. You would not have been the first I have lost. Oh, I've asked this question before, so I suppose it cannot hurt. And he looked towards the entrance, his ears folding back. The storm keeps us here. We cannot leave. I found Chris, his muzzle, and thought, we must wait until morning. He would double on his hold, his arm wrapping around me further, our thighs pressed together. He didn't care about personal space anymore, the bear making no pretense at trying to keep a distance between us. The burner continued to flicker, the soft light and the warmth coming from it, giving the cave a strange feeling of serenity. Like being in the eye of a storm. My mother, my ear perked, Papa's usually booming voice, barely a whisper. It was not this peak, but it was similar. His fingers squeezed into me, his large hand gripping tightly around my thigh. I'm so sorry to hear. I bit my lower lip, leaning further into the bear, squeezing him a little tighter in return. I did not want to travel here. It is why I was terrified when you fell. I could not save her. I thought I had lost you too. He turned to look at me, eyes glistening in the light of the flickering flame. I have not known you long, but you have changed my life. He flexed his fingers, fixating on them to avoid looking at me. She did not die in the mountains, but the infection after. Infection, but Philip. This was before he came to Iska. There were no doctors. None that could treat my mother. I could see why there was a national order now, the one that Philip talked about. The fact that she could die just from an infection out here was mind-blowing. What Thomas went through must have been awful to lose someone you care about to something so avoidable. When I wasn't close to my parents, I could only imagine what it would be like to lose one of them. Were you close? Thomas paused, the bear slowly nodding, lifting his head up only to stare at nothing in particular. You see the little shell side, the bear's expressing a hollow one. I thought back to when I first met him. I considered the bear to be emotionless. A pit grew in my stomach, the sour feeling of bile churning up my throat. I felt so stupid, so ignorant. Still, there was a question lingering in the back of my mind, and I wondered if it was somehow related. Is this why you left the village? Thomas' head tilted towards me, saturating eyes watching me. It wasn't clear if he was going to answer me, his brows furrowed, thoughts welling behind his stone-like expression. It is part of the reason. He sighed, looking more tired than I had ever seen him before. The monster partiality started to lay against me. I felt his heavy bulk pressing down on me. I did my best to try to hurt Thomas, my arm looping around him, and while behind him, the other slipping around his middle. He seemed to enjoy the contact. I saw Homer beginning to bubble up from the bear's throat. Despite the weight of the topic, it made me smile a little, and for a while, I allowed my hand to rest against his chest. Do you miss her? My voice was quiet, barely heard above the sound of Brunner. Much. I could feel his arm tighten around me, his big body simply slumping. Minutes passed like this, the burner flickering, providing the cave for much needed illumination. Still was still cold, but Thomas' warmth was more than enough for both of us. Turning my gaze back, I saw that his eyes were closed. Was he asleep? Tom. You okay? Tired. The long hike and stress has left me weary. I'm sorry, I still have paid attention. His arm gently encircled me, keeping me pressed snugly against his side. It was reassuring, assaulting some of my guilt as I let myself lay into him. He looked frightened. I blinked to change the topic for catching me off guard. I tried to call out your name, but he did not respond. I was so focused on what was going on with my phone, I didn't even hear you. It looked like it was Thomas' turn to ask questions. The bear turned his attention back to me. Is it the reason why you are here? Is it not normal for one to travel so far from home? He paused, a thoughtful look passing over his rough features. Are you running from something? So one. His brows furrowed, his voice a subtle yet defensive growl. I couldn't help but laugh, a mirthless sound. While it was touching that he was protective of me, it was funny how close he was to the truth. Yeah, actually, I rubbed the back of my head, a whirling feeling of embarrassment forming in my chest. My reasoning seemed frivolous in comparison to Tarek's problems, silly even. I think I told you that my life wasn't so great, right? A sharp sigh passed over my lips as I leaned further into the big bear. He was supportive both emotionally and physically, his big body acted like a living cushion. His brought down deserve. I remember, I do not pry further. I also mentioned that I had a boyfriend. There was a pause for a while. I was wondering if he was going to pull away from me. I remember. Did he hurt you? That question made me make my chest ache more than I thought it would. I bit my lower lip. The memories of that vivid dream still fresh in my mind. If you could call it a dream, I remember that day on campus when he wanted to take that one with me. He was so excited for his new position, but we ended up fighting like usual. But it was worse than usual. It was one of our last big fights, even the one that set off the beginning of the end between us. Funny that my mind wanted to replay it for me. One last punishment before dying. A way to repent, maybe. It was his fault. Maybe it was more both of our faults. We had a lot of problems and it didn't work out in the end. I sighed again, putting a hand over my face. Sorry I'm being cryptic. I should just be honest. You did not have to. If this causes you pain. No, it's only fair. You told me about your mother dying. That's nothing compared to a messy breakup. It is not a competition. My hurt does not invalidate your hurt. Wise words. It was surprising to see them coming from Tarlac. I should stop underestimating him because he lives so far out in the wild. Being an outdoorsman doesn't make him a dunce. He's actually thoughtful. There's a lot going on behind those eyes. Probably more than most would assume. Yeah, you're probably right. I guess I never really stopped to think about it. Despite the faint howling winds and the quiet sizzle of the burner as our background, it was almost a little cozy. Tarmac was soft, or at least his middle was. The rest of him was surprisingly firm, especially the arm that had wrapped me up. My life was kind of a mess, or maybe it was always that way. I couldn't help but sigh, having gone down this mental road several times in the past. You can think that's of me if you want, but I come from a wealthy family. He didn't seem to have a reaction, watching me intently as the light flickered. I think you remember me telling you that I didn't get along with my parents. The big bear nodded. I did not enjoy the company of Maya as well. I guess you can sympathize then. Well, while they gave me everything I could have wanted, they were kind of cold. They didn't really care about me, just about how I made them look. They did not value a person. Yeah, something like that. I chewed it inside my cheek as I stared at the fire, feeling that familiar chill creeping up my spine. Ever since she had the good sense to get out and move as far as she could, Alaska was a pretty good place for that. The look on Thomas' face showed me that he was starting to put things together. You were on your way to visit her? Yeah, I didn't want to admit it. I felt weak, like I was running away from my life, but I wanted to stay with her for a while if I started pushing my hands into my face, finally breaking away from Tarak's side. I'm not sure I could go back. I thought I could just run away and maybe start over. She's my older sister, but she was also, I don't know, she wasn't my parents' favorite. They didn't really put much stock into having a daughter, so they tried again. And you were born. And I was born. A small laugh came out of me, shaking my head as I pushed my palm further over my face. I'm just glad she didn't hate me for it. It sucks knowing you can't be your own person, that you were designed from birth to be someone you're not. I'm probably whining, considering I live a privileged life, but it sucks. You do not need to elaborate. I know what you mean. I peeled my hands from my face, turning to look at my unseen companion. Really? I too was born with expectations to fulfill. I did not. Is that why you're... I didn't want to say exile, but it seemed by hanging, the sentence was lost on Tarlac. Partly, it was many things. Tarlac had leaned his bulk over, started winding up a little higher over his midsection as he dug into his pack. Sure enough, it was more jerky. He handed me a few sizable strips that enticed an aroma already tickling at my nose. We should eat. It was getting late. I guess I can't really complain. It was the most open conversation we've had so far. It felt good to be able to get some of my problems off my chest. Sure, I hadn't told him everything yet, but we both shared a lot. The interest of the tone caught my attention where the sound of the chill wind originated. You are alive. This is important. He took a bite of his own jerky, those jets, pointed fangs, easily tearing through the dried meat. We are both alive, safe, warm. He flashed me a smile after gulping down his bite. And I'm thankful you should be as well. Yeah, thanks for saving me again. I really owe you. I will do it again, as many times as you need. He paused just before taking another bite, the end of the jerky hovering just below his large padded nose. But please do not take this as an invitation. He chuckled softly at his own dry joke, seemingly amused as he bit off another piece of his jerky. I didn't know if I wanted to slap his shoulder or laugh as well, a goofy smile creeping over my face. I'll let you know ahead of time before I throw myself off of the next ledge. He let out an amused grunt as he flashed me a sidelong look, his muzzle still coiled into his mouth. I'm glad I have not offered to let you drive. Hey, that's a cheap shot. Pushing at his shoulder was just as ineffective as before, only succeeding in bouncing myself back as I let out a playful growl. There was snow and ice. I'm a great driver. He hummed to himself thoughtfully. Perhaps I will allow you a turn then. Really? That was a bit of a sigh. I always assumed that his snowmobile was like his baby. It was spotless, immaculately taken care of. No. I sputtered, nearly choking on my last strip of jerky. A grin splitting his muzzle suggested he was lying just a fist for a reaction. Well, he got himself one. My fist banging against his chest as I coughed out a few stray gibbles out of my lungs. Dick. I wheezed, my voice coming out as a froggy gurgle. And I'm not frolic. I swear to God. I pointed an accusatory finger at him. The bear watched me down the bridge of his nose, mocking me. You know exactly what you're doing. Perhaps. He snickered, a rumbling sound that churned from deep within. I couldn't bring myself to be mad at him. These moments of unique humor from him were worth it. Even if I was above the joke, that's enough amusement. You need the rest. I'll be fine. Even though I protest and reflex, a part of my body was telling me otherwise. Feel farther than one would normally survive. Rest. Let the side step as I shook my head. Guess it really wasn't any debating time like once he had his mind set on something. The big bear had gotten up once again, and then back over to his pack. To my surprise, he unfurled a tent to inside grizzly, getting to set it up. Do we really need that here? I mean, it's just around us. We are already in a cave. The air is too cold, and there is a breeze. A tent will keep us warm while we sleep. I started went up my spine, as if on cue. One of those chill winds blew from the entrance, causing me to huddle in on myself. I couldn't argue. Even the flame of the burner flickered and danced dangerously under the chill wind. Caracas fast, the tent going up in only a few minutes. Part of it was due to it being the newer, proper kind. Even though I knew I would have a hard time getting it set up on my own. Glad I had my own guy to handle things while I'm here. Zipping the front of it, he tossed the large sleeping bag inside, followed by a small lamp he tugged out of his pack. It was fairly roomy inside, but even I knew better than to trust that fact by now. With Thomas added bulk, I was sure that the space was going to shrink considerably. Kicking my boots off, I slipped inside. I could hear the sound of the burner being cut off as the bear zipped his pack back shut. True to prediction, his boat sailed through the entrance, having to twist his broad shoulders to be able to fit them through the doorway. Thomas seemed to notice the inconvenience of the bear trying to wedge himself into the corner as tightly as possible. I am sorry. What for? It was a little cramped, but it wasn't too bad. Cozy, I guess I would call it. It was already warmer than the cave, that's for sure. I am Lawrence. There was a hint of embarrassment in his voice, maybe even a bit of saying, yeah, Ian, there's little room for you. Tarek, I'll be fine. I can't help but reassure the bear, especially when he was being insecure like this. There was something adorable about this big stoic while showing vulnerability. Besides, I've been in tighter spaces. I looked around splendidly, unable to help but notice a single sleeping bag taking up the majority of the floor. So where's my sleeping bag? Is it out there? The bear tensed up, his visiting increasing. There was only one. Huh? There is only one. He rubbed the back of his head awkwardly, looking away. I did not bring one. Oh, that's it? That's all he was worried about? I mean, I guess we could share. No, you can use it. I will be fine. My mouth crashed into a frown, rose furrowing. Tarek, we've heard. I don't think it's much of a stretch to share a sleeping bag. I'll just keep my clothes on and we'll be fine. I visited more, even eyes flicking into the zipped up entrance of the tent and the lamp. I suppose. There's one last thing. I can't imagine what else it could be. We were stuck in a cave with a blizzard going on outside. I cannot sleep with my shirt on. What? Wait, really? I can't sleep. You can't sleep while wearing a shirt? I've heard of guys who like to sleep naked, but... Tarek nodded solemnly, the bear's head hanging. You were naked around me before. Yes. So it's different now. He lifted me up and down, the expression shifting as he sat in the corner of the tent, his bow causing the walls to bulge outwards. I do not wish to make you uncomfortable. I could feel the frustration building as my gaze bore into the bear. What's wrong with him all of a sudden? Why is staring at sleeping space making him act crazy? I'm not uncomfortable. What will I be? You're not making any sense. It's what? What you said. We were together a few days ago. I racked my brain trying to think about what he was talking about. It had been a few days with just us together, so it could be just about anything. Wait, things were starting to click into place as I blinked at the bear. Only one thing stuck out in my mind. A slip of the tongue when we were together at the table. You mean about my ex-boyfriend? Wait, are you upset that I'm gay? I was more confused than anything. If he had a problem with it, then why did he let me hug him so much? The bear waved his hands in front of him, those large mitts swinging disarmingly. No, I'm not upset. His words spilled out at a frantic pace, matching the anxiety radiating off of him. He looked like he was about to puke. Thomas' expression shifted from nervousness to outright fear as he tried to avoid looking at me. The tent shifted as the bear got up. Just before he could try to escape out of the entrance of the tent, I grabbed him by the wrist. Surprisingly, he stopped. It felt like minutes passed, the two of us like this, the muffled, howling wind outside. He refused to look at me, staring at the zipper of the tent instead, his face a mix of contemplation and shame. I shall not speak. You're under my care. But I'm also not a prisoner, Tarek. You said it yourself. I should find another place to stay if I need to. So, why? What's wrong? He still looked reluctant, his jawline flexing, shifting, as if he wanted to continue speaking. Tarek, we're trapped together in a blizzard, stuck in the side of a mountain. If you can't be honest with me here, then when? He dropped onto his rear, looking defeated, the tent shuddering from his suddenly dropped weight. I am the same. The same? Wait, you mean lacking guys? He nodded, a simple up and down motion. I blinked, staring at the mass of the flayed bear in front of me. Even though it was a surprise, I suppose it wasn't really much of a shock. I've never known any stray guys who were color bugs. Tarek was desperate for physical affection, While I thought it was mostly due to his isolation, I guess it made more sense now. Well, I don't mind. You do not. You're not afraid? Well, I tried to get him. And I'm much larger than you. What? I'm supposed to be intimidated? I really doubt you're going to do something to me. You've been nothing but respectful since the day I fell into your forest. Just because you like guys doesn't change anything between us. I followed up my statement with a smile laugh. It seemed to melt the ice, the subtle hints of a smile starting to pull the corners of Toad's mouth. Most would not share your opinion. Most people suck. I followed up with a wide grin of my own, though I couldn't help but think of several implications now that things were out in the open. These were thoughts for later, though. There were several more pressing issues to get through before we could have a longer conversation. Maybe we should get some sleep. We can talk about this when we get back to your cabin. He seemed much more relaxed now, the smile lingering on his muzzle as he gave a short nod. True to his statement earlier, he was already unbuttoning his shirt. Thick fingers would work from one gleaming circle to the next, allowing more of that snow white fur to spill out. While it was amusing, considering what had just been said, I tried not to stare too much. Even though Tomek slipped another apology under his breath, I waved it off. The sleeping bag was more roomy than Tomek suggested. Even with his large bulk, there was still room enough for me to fit in next to him. It was like having a personal heater with me, his body radiating warmth under the heavy fabric. At least neither one of us were going to freeze tonight. Tarek rolled onto his side, his wide bag facing me. I could tell he was trying to be as polite as possible, especially with what he just revealed to me. Though there was a small part of me that wished he wouldn't hide himself. It was selfless to admit, but I wouldn't have minded laying against all that semi-soft bulk. Oh well. I'm just happy that I'm alive. The added bonus that Tomek is still with me was enough to start to lull me to sleep. Reaching out, I turned out the lamp, bathing us both in darkness before retreating back under the covers. Still, everything still ate, but the feeling was beginning to subside. I can't imagine how lucky I was, not only now, but when I first crashed my car. I couldn't tell if it was fate or I was just destined to skirt the most unpleasant possibilities. Like it was my fate to end up in these situations, but never quite reaching the worst ending. At least Tara didn't side away when our bodies grazed together. There wasn't much choice in the battle considering my lack of space, but he seemed to take it in stride. A soft yawn came from me, lids growing heavy as I eventually slipped into sleep. What's more, warm. A feeling of utter serenity. Compared to how cold I've been over the past several days, it was pure bliss. It felt like I had a heated, fuzzy blanket wrapped around me, cradled back into plush pillows. My eyes slowly opened, feeling the morning crust trying to keep them fused closed. It was still dark enough that I could barely make out the insides of the tent. But there was something more oppressive than the oppressive darkness. A soft puff of air blew between my ears, tickling through my ear. It was warm, rhythmic. It was then that it hit me. Tarek was holding me. He had shifted in his sleep. The big bear had reversed his position, facing me instead. His arms were looped around me like I was some sort of teddy, pulled back against his body, slowly bobbing chest. Even when his legs were tangled up with mine, a dense tree trunk like thigh resting over them. My breath hissed, trying to see if he was awake or not, my ears shriveling back to try to pick up on his breathing. It was slow indeed, the subtle rise and fall of his chest telling me that he was completely out of it. I bit my lower lip, realizing just how nice this was, the feeling of someone holding me like this. I felt safe and warm, and I didn't want it to end, although I couldn't help but wonder about the moral dilemma wrapped up as I was. There was really no way I was getting out of this miserable bear trap. His arms were heavy, and he was determined to cling to me, even if he was dead asleep. I let out a soft sigh, unable to wipe the smile I knew was spread across my face. It had been a while since I last shared a bed with someone. It was nice to have that feeling again. Still, it was just a sleeping bag, but Tyrant had more than enough support to make up for that fact. His arms were cradled around me, holding me like I was his personal pussy. I was just thankful he wasn't putting any strength into it. I'd probably pop like a balloon if he did. Craning my head, I could barely make out his face in the dark. Oddly enough, he was smiling. A look of contentment was spread over his face, one that I'd never seen before. Sure, he smiled before, but this was different. Staying here might have been a better choice after all. Maybe he needs this more than I do. It seemed more subtle, something might have disturbed him. His expression twisted as he let out a low rumble. I was rolled around, my chest pressed into his chin lowering down, nuzzling between my ears. I could instantly feel my face heating up, his generous middle pressing into my lower half of my torso as he held me tight. His breath wafted through my hair, padded nose pressed down between my ears as he took in a few deep breaths. Was he sniffing me, taking in my scent or something? I didn't exactly have the best sense, but even I know how important it could be for some. I was just glad he didn't have any other ideas while he was out. It seemed he was content just to hold me like I was some sort of precious pillow. A quiet rumble from Tyrant signaled that he was starting to wake up, his lazy breathing abating. Gris. His voice was groggy, a gurgle in his throat. Down here, I could hear my blush as I spoke, my voice crackling slightly from the compromising position I was in. He was awake now. The light clicking on revealed that much. Thomas' body stiffened like a boar, his eyes shooting open wide as he looked down, staring straight into mine. You seemed to struggle for a rational explanation as to why we were so intimately cuddled together, considering how he fell asleep last night. Thomas, it's okay. I could already feel his spike heartbeat, his chest banging as he stared down at me. His expression screwed up, his arms having released me, hovering around me instead in an awkward halo. I am sorry I did not. Oh, you're right. Just a little compacted, but I'm fine. I tried my best to reassure him, while my hands reaching out, pressing gently against his broad chest. Besides, I can't blame you. It's kind of cold. It seemed to be working, his apprehension starting to fade as he reluctantly nodded. Scooting forward, I pressed my cheek into his chest, hugging around his sides. He let out a long exhale, his arms finally dropping back down, wrapping around me in a gentle hug. Testingly, he brushed his padded fingers down my neck, gently stroking back up and through my hair experimentally. You're very soft. I hope you're not making fun of me. No, your fur. I swept my shoulders, a difficult feat considering those broad biceps pressing in on either side. It's my usual shampoo. I haven't switched out since I was young. It smells nice. I took another deep breath, pulling air through those dense, padded nostrils. Lavender. Yeah, actually, I didn't know you liked the smell. It is nice. His hands worked down my back, tracing the subtle curves. I couldn't help but notice that he was being as respectful as he could be, considering our position. The bill's fingers never dipped past halfway, deliberately avoided a smile on my back. Perhaps I will buy some. The two of us drifted into a comfortable silence, Tomak's hand gently stroking down my neck and spine, then back up again. It was nice for a moment. I felt like I could just drift back off to sleep again. Apparently, Tomak picked up on this, the bear giving me a gentle nudge. We should get moving. We still have several hours of climbing. He peered down at me, seeming reluctant to let go. I know that feeling, and didn't want it to end either. But he was right. We should probably get going. There would be time to figure out feelings later. We were safe. Okay, so we learned a lot about Quest and the fact that he comes from a wealthy family, and we got to see the boyfriend, who is a football player. He got promoted to quarterback, and he said that during our argument between him and Chris that Chris's parents were lawyers, and it was easy for him. It's easy for Chris to get into university because his parents were lawyers, and plus Chris just told Tom that his parents were wealthy, so they must be like very wealthy lawyers representing, and they probably represent, like powerful people and celebrities probably. For them to be lawyers and wealthy, they probably represent, celebrities and powerful politicians and high profile people. So that's probably how they got their wealth from. And they're probably good lawyers also, very good lawyers for them to be wealthy. So anyway, Chris's boyfriend told him during that fight that it was easy for him to get into college, but he had to fight his way and scrape his way to get into college through a scholarship. And it was easy for Chris to get into college because his parents were wealthy. He didn't have to apply for loans and go into debt. So they expect the MC to be rich, though. Because usually in a lot of MCs, in VNs, they're mainly like ordinary people and who come from ordinary backgrounds. But this MC comes from a wealthy background, and apparently his parents did not really like him all that much. So he decided to get away from his parents. And his parents did not like his older sister because they prefer a male heir. They prefer a male child, so they decided to have Chris. So while they may not have treated Chris all that well, they certainly treated their older daughter, their eldest child, even worse, just because he's a female. So apparently Tarek had the same problems Chris has with his parents. So we learned that Tarek's mother died the same way Chris almost died. She fell down a mountain, and apparently he has the same issues Chris has with his parents, so his father must still be alive, and he must be going through some issues with his father. His father probably hasn't been treating him all that well either. And towards the end there, I enjoyed that scene with them just being together and just embracing each other and feeling each other's warmth before they fell asleep. We enjoyed that. Just getting to know each other and be close to another and just feel more comfortable around each other. I think that scene really helped reduce this kind of anxiety they have. Tomek especially. This fear Tomek has that if he gets too physically close to Chris, that he feels he might molest him. But I really enjoy Tomek's character. He may appear to be stern and quiet, but when you get to know him, that's when all his emotions come out, and he even cracks jokes and he even kind of act like, just somebody who can make jokes at your expense, to the point where Chris even calls him a, what do you call him again? A jerk or an asshole. I forgot what Chris called Towak, but apparently for him to call him that certainly has made Towak into a more, he's not that quite stoic type of person. I mean, well, not fully, but we get to know him. All the different parts of him comes out, and I really enjoy that. I mean, it certainly fits with the saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover." So we'll continue with Hearthfire next time. Thank you all very much for watching. All the information for the game is in the description box below. Goodbye.